Hey, this is Director 40. Welcome back. I'm Daren the Georges. You can find me in the comments. So we are here with these lovely people. I want to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves.
Kato.
Tony Bongiovi LaBeet.
So, Tony, before we dive into the main subject, tell the people in the VI what kind of work you've done and what some of your experiences.
All right. I'm a Virgin Island creative. I'm a director, a producer, videographer. I pretty much work with anybody that you could think of, from Rashidi to Pumpa to pretty much almost every VI artist you could think of. I've done some form of work with them, whether it be a music video, event, coverage, lifestyle, promo, you name it. You know what I mean? Brands, all that stuff. I've done stuff in the US. I've done stuff in Universal Studios. I mean, I
That's
did
exciting
it.
stuff.
Yeah, just a whole bunch of production and creative work. That's my background.
As speaking of creative work, we're here for a purpose, right? So, give a quick intro of the book that you're talking about today.
Okay, so the book that we're here to talk about today is called Attraction Blueprint, and I have recently dived into the YouTube space and kind of entered into the whole coaching world for relationships and dating. But the Attraction Blueprint is pretty much a book that helps men overcome the challenges that they have to face with the dating world, relationships, marriage, all the stuff that involves masculinity without manipulative tactics. It's just a very practical guide to answering all the questions that you might have as a man from getting to point A to point B.
Okay, so we'll dive into the book. Just give it a second. We gotta do a little VI thing first before we get into it, right?
You don't know.
So I want to ask. So you, Tony, have grew up in St. Thomas, right? So I want you to tell us because we have a variety of Virgin Islands. What was that experience like growing up in St. Thomas? Just tell us for a couple of minutes.
You mean like in comparison to St. Croix, or?
Well, speak about the experience first about growing up in St. Thomas, and then we could do a contrast because we're two different islands.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love it. It's home. Growing up in St. Thomas, I feel it exposed me to the outside world. Like tourism, it exposed me to industry. It's a little bit fast paced. Um, I would say I'd always make a joke and say St. Thomas in a real place. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that are going on there that, like, you wouldn't believe it. I grew up in a lot of volatile environments, and I grew up in Ras Valley and Cookie Point. So, you wouldn't believe it, if you didn't know me. But yeah. But I will say it's definitely an experience I appreciate and I don't take for granted.
I think you might be the first to tell me on the show, so that's why I wanted to. Yeah, I think so.
I appreciate that honor, man. I feel special, you know what I mean?
And then what would you say would be like the contrast between St. Croix and St. Thomas?
So I feel St. Thomas, like I said, it's fast paced. It introduces you to the outside world. Tourism. I feel like St. Croix is very rooted. Like St. Croix almost remind me of growing up. It feels a lot more grounded. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like it's like the sibling to St. Thomas. You know what I mean? So I definitely go and every time I've been to St. Croix, it's always been for work. I never got a chance to just come out here and Lime. So I've had like limited exposure to the island. But every time I come here, I definitely get like a little bit of a respect for the island. You know what I mean? For sure.
So I want to turn to Kato for a second now, right? I know you're a very well-traveled person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what have been your experiences going over to St. Thomas? Because sometimes we don't really have that inter-island conversation. So I want to have that like right now. What have you experienced being from St. Croix going over to St. Thomas?
St. Thomas lit. They have nice roads, Coral World.
Nice world.
Coral World. They have a lot to do. St. Thomas is definitely lit.
So I want to ask you guys a question, right? So being what you know, being here or visiting, talking to relatives and families, now we're in 25, going transition into 2026. Where do you see the Virgin Islands going? Are we progressing or are we regressing? I'll start with you first, Kato.
I feel like we was in a period of regression, and I feel like now we like in a rebirth, a little bit progress moving on right now.
Why do you feel that way?
Let's just say like last year when I came, like I'm talking about from east to west, them roads was bad. and like bad. Like I mean, I bawled like how bad it
I
was.
bawled because I had to take the car to the shop to shade the front end parts.
Like
Yeah.
I was so heartbroken. Like they just let everything just disintegrate. You know what I'm saying? And I'm proud about my home and stuff like that. So I didn't like that. But like coming back within 1 year, like major difference. So yeah. And then I see the Frederick said pool. They
Ah, yeah, I did
back.
reopen this year, yes. So there was definitely some things that reopened. So you're right about that. And Tony may ask the same question to you.
So I don't know none of why Thomas doesn't go, but I
Yeah.
can speak from the perspective of so when you say virginals, I think about St. Thomas. I
Yeah.
feel like currently there's definitely been a progression in terms of entrepreneurship and creativity. I feel like the era I came from, it was almost like taboo to do the things that I do now back then. But I feel like we have had that progression, creatively and from an entrepreneurial perspective. But I feel when it comes to leadership and infrastructure, we still kind of way backwards. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big problem. So, it depends on the context.
Yeah.
It's a general question.
Yeah,
But
that's okay. And then one last thing, I'll ask before we transition back into the book. You both are well-traveled people, right? So I know you've been to many different countries. Pick one thing that you've seen from a country that if we implement in a VI, it'll make us a better place. And I'll start with you, Tony.
It's kind of like what I just mentioned. I think leadership and infrastructure. A lot of these places I've been to, even some of the more struggling places, like they forward planning. It's all about the future and it's about where are we going.
Exactly.
How do we get better? How do we grow? And I think that we have a problem with that here. I mean, I think we kind of we need better leadership. We need our generation to be more participative rather than speculative. Like
Exactly.
we're on the sidelines looking in, and I think we need to participate. We need to not just vote but actually run and get into office, and because the future comes from the youth, and we get to the point now where we have to look out for the next generation. So I hope I answered the question.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Let me go to Kathlyn now.
Yeah, I would piggyback off of infrastructure as well. Just as coming into the airport, you know what I'm saying? The first thing that you see, the hotel, I mean, say hotels, the hospital, the schools, these things definitely, need improvement. Energy, I see a lot. Like when I was in Dominica, like they, like a lot of places use different natural resources, use what they have to renewable energy, to facilitate renewable energy. And I feel like we just burden with WAPA and we have so much natural resource that we could tap into. And yeah, I feel like that's what.
I like that answer, right? So thank you for that, right? So let's dive into the book, because that's the real reason we're here, right? So Tony, I want to start off with this, and get asked, what's your motivation for creating this book, right? Because I know this thing just come out of thin air. What was the drive that made you say, yeah, I'm gonna do this?
I just been seeing the struggle men been having when it comes to this dating and relationship market, and just I think the family unit is the core of society, and I think as men we as leaders of society, and it's our responsibility to bring that back, and men having a hard time. I mean, if you look at the statistics, I don't get too statistical, but we have men in the 30s as virgins that can't even get in a relationship, that can't get a partner. The population, people don't want to have kids no more. People don't want to have family. People ain't getting married. People getting divorced higher than ever. So it's just, I feel like there was just a need for some form of, and that's why I call it a blueprint. Like, how do I get this done? Because there's a lot of questions that men have and they don't have the answers. And I wanted to kind of give one place you could go to have those answers. And not to dumb it down, but I be in the gym all the time, and I be in a sauna or I be on a bench or wherever. Just you hear these kids with these issues, and I would find myself giving them feedback and talking to them, and before I know it, I have a crowd, people just listening, and it just showed me yo, there is a hunger for this direction, and I didn't always think that I was that person that had that information until I just saw the consistency and the response I was getting from people. So I was like, yo, it took me 3 years to write this book. You know what I mean?
And that means for that you took your time.
No, I didn't just I did research. I educated myself. I studied Gottman, and I've actually brought on dating coaches that are in the field already and studied their things, and I've you have all of this red pill, and it is like, it's so much information I digest. There's so much experience that I have myself. It's so much people that I've talked to, and it's like the cumulative information of all the best parts of all of that that I feel this is what works. You know what I mean?
So let me ask Kato, right? Like you're in the opposite side of this, right? What Just a general thing, like what have you seen from like men? Like what's been your experiences dealing with them?
Oh gosh.
Oh, I want you to be honest. Be honest.
Bring it on.
What they say, they have piss in the dating pool.
He in the dating pool.
Yeah, they got piss in the dating pool.
What would be okay? So let me ask this.
The men that she choosing.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So what's some of like the red flag behavior that you've seen from men?
A lot of them is controlling. A lot of them have this way of thinking where it's like, oh, we expect this from a woman, but when it comes down to the end of the bargain, it's like, no, today's society is different. So the double standard is not, it's a double standard, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's for the most part.
And then going back to what Tony was saying, do you think it's because they don't have the quote unquote blueprint to go by? Like I think in our society, in like our generation, a lot of us like men didn't have like the father in their lives.
Mhm.
Or even if they did, maybe he wasn't really present on those things. Do you think it's because we're missing that leadership is what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are products of their environments. They adapt to what they see and deem as normal and the way of life. So I mean that could definitely be a reason as to that.
So let me go back to Tony, right? So I want to ask, like, I know you got motivated to do this, but what's your overall goal? Like, what are you trying to portray to men and even in some cases the ladies? What is it that you're trying to? What's the message you're trying to get across?
Just integrity and respect and certain values. The way you phrase the question, like you on the other side of this. I think right now we created an environment where it's men versus women. It's everybody versus everybody.
That's what I'm saying.
It's numbers versus in Croy, Republicans, Democrats, like that's a bigger conversation. But we create this man versus woman and it's intentional, to be honest with you. And I make a joke and say the men that you're choosing, and it's half joke, half truth, because I think that we don't know how to choose. We don't know how to vet. We don't know what to look for. We don't know the qualities, the red flags, the green flags. We don't take our time vetting people properly. We don't have ourselves accountable to, because, you are the product of your choices. You know what I mean? I think as men, the women that we're going to have in our lives are going to be the side effect of the lives that we've created for ourselves. You know what I mean? So, these questions simple, but they have long answers, and I know we have a limited amount of time, but I will say, I think men need to start learning to do what they say they're going to do. They need to start learning to have boundaries and be leaders, exhibit leadership qualities. They need to have integrity. They need to stop lying, stop cheating. Just tell the truth. Whatever relationship style you want, put it out there, and whoever will come to you, will come to you. Women need to also, like women that say men don't do this and men don't do that, and men that say women don't do this and women don't do that. The whole point of a relationship is to give. You get into a relationship to give. You go into it with a mindset you're giving of yourself. It don't necessarily mean money or anything specific, but you're going in to give. And then I think we've created a culture where it's like, well, what am I getting? What do you bring to the table? Like, you hear those things. So I think that's why the family unit is so important, because then you have those examples of what healthy masculine leadership looks like, what a healthy feminine partner looks like. We use words like submission and all these things, and is taken with a negative light. And, I like to use the word cooperation more than submission. You know what I mean?
And I will say, like, for me, I use partnership too as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And not to get long-winded, but I look at it like this, right? It's like, you say men are controlling. What do you mean? Because if I like to look at men as a captain of ships, right? Let's say we're driving. We're sailing. We're on a boat, and it's 3 icebergs. Let's use the Titanic reference. It's 3 icebergs. A big one, a medium one, and a small one. I, as the captain of the ship, you is my first mate. You is my partner. You know what I mean? I have a ship full of people their lives in our hands. You know what I mean? We gotta slam into one of these things. There's only 3 ways we could go. In my mind as a captain, based off of my experience, you've chosen me, you've appointed me as a captain. In my mind and my experience, I need to hit the big one. Because I thinking like, you just bounce off. You thinking, hit the small one. You know what I mean? Are you panicking? The small one is, just get it. And I know that if I hit a small one, it's going to wreck the bottom of the hull of the ship. And we're going to sink and everybody going to die. I need to have the capacity to listen to your feedback because it's valuable and important. By the end of the day, you chose me to be captain. So you have to trust me because you did make that choice. You need to trust that if I'm going to hit this big iceberg, we're going to have to take damage regardless. But sometimes you have to take damage and you have to have the capacity to know which damage is the best damage to take. And you have to choose the proper leader to do that. But you have to trust me too. So it's like, I can't lead you if you can't trust me because you're either going to jump out of the ship or you're going to make me make a bad decision because there's going to be so much noise, I can't focus. So it's a two-way street. That partnership is important. So, you saying that you don't want a man to control you, but what does that mean? You don't want a man telling you what?
I mean, when I say controlling, like I's my own person, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna respect you, but I don't need to be controlled. As in, like,
I
within,
can't tell you what to dress. I can't tell you.
I mean, within respect. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like something, you don't like it. It's a way to go about it. But like when I mean controlling, I mean like on a more like narcissistic type of way, you know?
Okay.
Like say I have a trip plan and you know it's planned and I pay my money to go on a trip and you wait till like a week before. It's like, I don't want you to go on the trip. You always traveling. Like that controlling. Like what's your reasoning? Like some men be controlling without reason. They just want to exert their power and their macho-ness or whatever. And like, but more in a narcissistic way, not more in a I trust you, to make the decisions type of way.
No, I feel you on that. And I mean, I don't believe in controlling anybody. I believe in just stating your boundaries and letting people show you if they agree with them and align with them or not. I can't tell you what to do. But I could tell you why I ain't gonna participate in.
Correct, but there's people that literally tell you what to do every single second. And another thing too, when you say like which woman I choose the wrong man, like no, like first of all, men does approach, right? And two, you date, you gotta fight, figure them out, And a lot of times they put mask on until you get to know them, and then once you know them, it's like okay, well, this ain't what was presented.
That's
and,
true.
Things you won't move forward, and that's that. But yeah, a lot of men, they lie, they put a mask, they behave, act away, and so it's not as easy,
Time. I mean,
Yeah, I take my time. I take my time. I have
we
no
all got to take
problem.
our time here. When you talk about serious, you want something serious, you got to take your time. I think we all kind of jump into things, the excitement and all that stuff. No, but I understand what you're saying. I think everybody wears masks, man and woman. I don't think it's a gender exclusive thing. But I see you ready to ask a question.
So no, I was loving it because I like the back and forth, right? So I think this is going to dive into the next question, right? And I think in our society we haven't had real good in this aspect. And this could be both men and women, right? But I don't think we had like the best examples of what it means to be a masculine man or a man of integrity, right? So what would you say if somebody were to read this book? What would be like what they could take away from that?
I mean, it could take away a lot. I feel like the book is broken into three parts. The first part of the book, it starts with you working on you. Unlearning the bad programming. Finding purpose, which is important as a man. I mean, finding the things that make you tick. I mean, like I said, unlearning the bad behaviors, understanding the importance of making yourself the best version of yourself. I mean, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, everything across the board. Understanding hypergamy, female nature, all of that stuff is in that first section of the book. I mean, you must take accountability for yourself. You are the product of your own choices. And this is what you need to do to build yourself up to be the best man you could be. And then the second half of the book takes you into stepping out and dating and getting the number, approaching girls, flaking, texting, calling, and the date, what the date should look like, setting up the date, how that interaction should go, holding hands, kissing, all the way down to intimacy. And then the third half of the book is long-term legacy, relationships, marriage, kids, living together, red flags, green flags, boundaries, how to set boundaries healthily. You know what I mean? So the whole book is really a full circle guide that you could get value across the board. I want and I think to answer your question, I think that if you were to do the things that I am teaching in this book, the end result, the side effect, the product of that would be a healthy relationship, which in itself just creates the environment for where the future could benefit, because we need more of those. Like you said, we need the healthy examples of what a man and a woman should look like. We don't need people that only together because of the kids and they arguing and they hate each
Yeah,
other.
exactly.
Or we don't need a guy stepping out and running from his responsibilities, and we don't need a woman sleeping around and just giving a bite to everybody, getting pregnant and just, well, you know what I mean? Like, we don't need bad decisions, which is the product of bad upbringing. Not always, because, you know, the police is going to be like, you know, why if you this and that, but for the most part, majority speaking, you know, if we had better environments, better family unit, better communities, we'd have better results and better outcomes.
I like that. You have any response to that?
Oh, no, I agree. I agree.
I want to smoke. I want to
Okay,
smoke.
so this is where I think the smoke will come in. So as people may know, my other life is Date Like Daren, right? So I've interacted with many different women in a dating capacity, doing events, just general talking, right? So I want to say I've heard so many negative experiences, right? When women have dealt with guys, right? So before I ask that question to you, Tony, let me go to Kato. What have been like those negative experiences where a guy come and talk to you, or they try and get your number, what have you experienced? Because I've heard some horror stories. I want to see if you have any of those. And you don't have to get like super personal. Those.
Okay. Yeah, I've had a couple weird experience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't even know you, but they just trying to get in your pants real fast, you know? Just like ideologies. Like, do you want me to tell like dating experience or like
You can do if you want to.
like okay, restate the question, I'm sorry.
No, so basically, what's some of the things that's turned you off from guys, basically?
Like a lot. One, like they would be in a relationship, but like a long-term relationship with somebody, and then they'll be pressing you, and you'd be like, but wait, you know, or you know, you talking to them, and then next thing you know, somebody send you a thing on social media that they just get engaged or get married, and you're like,
I need to. So sorry.
2 days ago, you know, like stuff like that. Like no real life. Like I'm not even playing. Like I remember one time I was dating this guy, probably dated for like a month and some change. And then afterwards, he asked me, he was like, you know, he want to take it further, you know, he want to make it official or whatever. And I was like, well, you know, like I like you, but we're taking our time. And next thing you know, I was blocked on social media, and I go on his page and he was engaged. But he was with the girl for like 10 years prior. And they had like a little break, but yeah, like stuff like that.
So let me ask and I'll go to Tony. Like, let's talk about like when a guy approaches. What has been like things that be like yuck?
I mean, I was gonna say guys is yuck in general, but like for real, like they'll come offer it like sexual, and I'm like I'm gonna ignore you. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a lady at the end of the day, so like I'm gonna ignore you. But they'll come in. I've had dudes ask questions like where I work and how much I make, and you know, like my level of education. I'm like, were you trying? Are you like what's going on? I've even had a guy ask me money once, and I was like, what the?
That's crazy.
This is, yeah.
Oh, like, you get swinging? What?
So Tony.
Yeah, let me tell you, this boy hound down, beg me. And I'm like, I ain't give him my number or whatever. And he like, like, you know, like on social media, you could call somebody. So like, he like called my phone, and he's like, oh, I want to see you. And then he was like, oh, could you send for Uber? And I was like, look at this. I was like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't interested in him at all. Like, I don't do them things.
I didn't mean to laugh. I'm so sorry, but that's like crazy. So Tony, based on that what you heard on some of the experience you have, what would you suggest to guys to not do? Because that sounds crazy.
In what, like, listen, as a firm believer, right? Because I just say it in my book. A lot of the time, man, ain't even really what you're saying, is how you say it and who you is. You know, I know a guy will walk up to a girl. You have two guys walk up to the same girl, say the exact same thing, and it just depends on who she like. If she like this guy, he could say, "You're so sexy," and the guy that she don't like, she'll be like, "Ew, that's gross." And then the guy that come up that she actually like might be interested in, she'll be like, "Ha ha ha, you're so funny." So obviously, like, you know, I don't recommend people come out the gate swinging sexually, especially like if you just get into this, you know, the dating game and you try and put yourself out there. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, if you get to the point where you have enough confidence and you could do it in a way where you could read the room and you see that she kind of have that interest in you, there's nothing wrong with that too. You know what I mean? Sometimes the honesty helps, but I wouldn't recommend out the gate swinging out with no sexual innuendos, and definitely don't be asking for money and them type of thing. But that's it's crazy people out there on both sides. And I mean, like I say, it's important to know why if you having a string of consistency with a certain type of guy, you have to look at yourself in the mirror now. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think it's a string. I just, like, I ain't come here to like talk the good just yet. You know what I'm saying? I will just answer the question. There's some good. There's a string of good too. So
I mean, you make it sound like there ain't no.
no, I go. Let me tell you, you're gonna remember the bad things, and you're gonna remember the good things easy.
Man,
you're gonna remember the bad things very easy, and that's what it is. Like I've had great dating experience, lots of great dating experience, in the past. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I've had some foul ones too.
This is where you can't trust when they say, "I'm in a." Don't listen to what women say. Look at what she does. That's it right there. That's a gem for men. Don't listen to what she say. Look at what she just said. Oh man, is okay. No, you can rewind it. She said, "Oh man, but now she's saying I had some good experience. I had some good experience." Like it's how they feel in that moment. In that moment, she felt like, "Oh man, now is they had some boy," and she remember James John and Jingleheimer Smith. You know what I mean? So that's a gem right there. Don't look at what she say. Look at what she do.
So before we finish up, I have to ask this question, right? I wouldn't be daylight if I didn't ask that question, right? What will be some tips that a guy should do to the first date, right? Because I think there's always been a discussion about should you take her an elaborate date.
No, I get it.
So
okay, yeah.
Give us your viewpoint. What would you do or what would you recommend? And I want you to respond to that.
So I know we pressed for time, so I'm going to try and sum it up. Okay, so bullet points. First of all, the phone is not for getting to know the girl. It's for setting up dates. So from the time you get her number, don't try to get to know her on the phone. That interaction should be to create an opportunity to see her in real life. Now, when you get an opportunity, you know what I mean, especially if you don't flake, there are going to be signs of flaking and all that type of stuff. Like I said, that's in the book. The date, you need to have a time and a place. Get a definite date. Don't, I'll let you know. Don't, well, let me see what my schedule looking like. You're on the phone is with the intention to set a definite date. So what your schedule looking like? When are you usually free? What does this weekend look like for you? Those are the type of questions you can ask. Once she give you the answer back, you give her time back. 8 o'clock, does that work for you? You don't gotta tell her, you don't gotta lay out the day for her. You wanna keep the mystery. That's another thing too. You wanna keep it a little fun. You don't gotta, I'm gonna take you to this place, that place, that place, that place. Also, first dates, I don't recommend spending a bunch of money. There's a lot of women out there that will enjoy a good experience, but she has no interest in taking you serious or doing anything further with you. The first date should be something fun that can maybe even let you be in your element, that you could see the type of a date is not a you're not auditioning. It is an opportunity to see if this girl is a good fit for your life. That's what you should go into the mindset with. You should go into there like, let me see if she's fun to be with. Let me see if she can be a good time to be around. You know what I mean? She's also giving you the opportunity to show you her personality. So don't go into it with the mindset that I got to prove something. You do those things for girls that show consistency. Over time, if you want to spend money after the fact and she's been showing up and then go crazy. With Chris, whatever it is you want to do. But in the beginning, simple fun. Maybe you could have a little bit. And don't take her to nothing like a movie. Take her to some place that you could listen to her talk. That's another thing that, you know what I mean? Make sure it's a place where she has the opportunity to speak. You could ask her questions. And that's another thing too there. Do more listening and talking. You know what I mean? Don't be weirdly mysterious, but it's good to keep a little mystery. That's another thing. You know what I mean? Don't go in there trying to look at my watches, look at my car. Just listen. Ask quality questions. You know what I mean? Don't try not to ask just yes or no questions. You know what I mean? And another thing I would say too, on a first date, my recommendation is avoid heavy, deep negative topics like politics and religion. I think those things are important for alignment eventually, but for the first date, show up ready to have a good time, hang out and hook up. Not necessarily sex, but hook up, like, create opportunity for that man-woman interaction. So those are a couple of things I would recommend. Smell good, look good, go in there with confidence, and that's it's a lot more, but that's the key takeaways I think you should take from there.
And I want to ask you, if a guy what would you want as a woman for that first date? Like, what would be the things that you're looking for?
I'm not gonna lie, what he said, literally, like, I want it to be, I don't mind the dinner dates. I don't want it to be so tense, you know what I'm saying? Because then it feels like you're going for a job interview. So I do like an activity, like a fun activity, interactive activity where you could like loosen up and, you know, like the person could loosen up and you could get to have a more natural exchange versus than like sitting across the table and you asking questions, drilling down questions back and forth. So
And if you don't mind, give me a example of two bad first dates.
a bad first date. Okay, you go on a dinner date and then like a real example
Yeah, I think you can.
or just like a hypothetical example.
I don't want
I'm
anyone
gonna do a
to win.
hypothetical. I'm gonna do a hypothetical. Like you, let's just say, a bad first date would be the person don't know where. They tell you, okay, let we go someplace, and then afterwards, like you go to the place, they ain't make no reservation, they ain't look up the place, they ain't look up the dress code. You know, you guys sitting across the table, there's no chemistry. It was no chemistry before, and you know, you just there in public wasting each other time.
Like you're gonna stare at each other like
No conversation, or the conversation is piss poor. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, that'll be horrible.
Mm-mm-mm.
It kind of loaded too though, because so okay, right? You probably gonna go out on a date with a guy that you don't feel some kind of chemistry with from the time he interact with you. Let's just be honest. Unless you link in with him on a date and app, and even there through the messages, you kind of get some gist. So you know, typically girls, like I say, and that's why I say keep the dates reasonably cheap for the first one, because these girls will go on an expensive than a date with you because they want an experience, and it's like, why not? I would, you know what I mean? So, but you know, again, at the end of the day, man, women want to relax. They want to show up and they want to look good and feel good, and they don't want to think too much about what they don't want to be logistically planning where we go. Don't ask her, well, what do you want to eat? What do you want to do? Like you could find out what she like, and you could think about those things and factor it into the overall night. You know what I mean? That's fine. That's considerate. But at the end of the day, she don't want to have to be the one taking charge and planning the night and planning the date and this is where we're going, this is the time. She wants those logistics to be covered. She just wants to show up and have a good time.
Basically, showing that you are the quote-unquote leader.
Yeah. And then, you know, when it comes to things like who gonna pay for the date and opening the door, I personally think you invite a woman out, you pay for the date, bro. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You open the door. You know, simp behavior. You're leading the interaction. You ain't auditioning or trying to prove yourself. These are just things that, you know, you're leading the night. Now, if you have a difficult woman and, you know, she is intentionally just, or this is just who she is, you find like they're in alignment, just cut a date short. Don't waste your time. Like, listen, having a great time. Thank you so much, you know, for coming out. You know, have a good night. You know, hope you get home safe. Like, you don't have to waste time with stuff you're not interested in either. Like, you have to go into there with a mindset of abundance. Like, this isn't the last person you're going to date with. You know what I mean? And that energy itself, it allows you to be something that she enjoys being around, because she doesn't have that pressure either of feeling like, well, I am his only, you know what I mean? That I'm his only option if I don't live up to this expectation too. So, you know, just go into there with a good mindset, confidently leading, know what it is you want to get out of the night, you know what I mean? Go there knowing where you want to eat or where you want to drink or where, you know, where this place is, set it up. Flaking gonna be a thing, you know what I mean? There's signs for that. Grab the book. You know what I mean? Grab the book. The Attraction Blueprint is available on Amazon and Kindle and paperback. I have to throw that in there. But you know, I cover all of that. I cover everything from even holding hands, breaking the touch barrier, you know, sealing the night with a kiss, you know, things you could talk about, you know, how to steer the conversations, you know what I mean? What to do after there was a successful first date, how to get a second one, you know what I mean? The formula for maintaining attraction, like all of that stuff is covered in the book.
All right. Any final thoughts from you?
I would say, one, I don't use dating app. I have nothing against dating app because this is, I guess, what a lot of people do in this modern times.
Right.
But like, I'm sorry, I lose my train of thought.
We were talking about, would you even end up on a date with a guy you didn't?
Yeah. So here's the deal with men, right? So you might have a peculiar interest or like a ounce of curiosity. But men, how they present it is like, you know, just get to know me. Just like, even if you turn them down, like a lot, they'll be like, just give me a chance, you know, or whatever. And it's just like a peculiar interest. And you might be like, okay, let me, like, I don't really like him. And then you be like, go on a date. And then, you know, you're like, oh, he cool. Like, oh, he he's very versed, like, and you might grow interest. So it's not all the time that you just like, oh, I like him, me like him, we go. It's like, no, like you kind of getting to know the person. And a lot of times men do present themselves like, get him a chance.
Right. You see what you just said about King. Like, I don't know if I like him. I don't want to date with him anyway. Attraction is not a choice. This is not something that women, we can't control what we're into. Sometimes she'll hate your guts, but it's just something about you. And then she end up, that's why it's important that when you are on a date, you can either raise her attraction level or lower it. And, so that's what she said was really important, So when you get on a date, you definitely want to, like I said, you're not auditioning, you're not trying, it's not like a try hard thing, but you definitely want the outcome of it to be that her attraction went up. And I teach and I explain in a very practical way what those behaviors, attitudes, and things look like when you're on that date, when you're having these conversations. I explain it all in the book.
All right. So let me give you the final pitch to get the viewers to go and read the book. I'll give the floor to you.
Okay, well, I'll say this, man. It don't matter if you never had a date in your life, if you're in a long-term relationship, if you're married, if you're a swinger, if you want multiple women, if you want to be monogamous. Like, I can't tell you how to live your life, but I know it doesn't matter where you're at in your relationship journey. This book has information for you. It could take you from one point to the next. I think that it is not a game of manipulation. I know we didn't really talk too much about the red pill and feminism, which I'm hoping we would have, but it's not tricks and games. It's really just a very practical guide to all of the challenges you could face in this dating market, and it's very easy to read. It's very 1 + 1 is 2 type writing style. And I think women could benefit from reading it too, because it's not like Steve Harvey book, think like a man, act like a woman, think like a man. I think that's what it's called. It's not like that book. It's not really talking to women. I feel like when you talk to women, you have to talk differently. It is talking to men, but I feel women could benefit from it, from getting the perspective and the insight of understanding the why behind the what. And I think that women will benefit from reading it. Because I've had women that read the book and they was like, yo, am I the problem? Like, because it really, like...
I think, honestly, if you really be honest, I think we, like you talked about earlier, I think we all have this thing where the sides, the opposite sides, right? So I think in the grand scheme of things, we both, as the both genders, have things to work on, right?
And we have a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of assumptions on both sides of the coin right now. Yeah. And you might think this is why he is doing this, and you don't really know. So reading this book will be like, oh, I could chill now and take a deep breath and realize, like, oh gosh, you're not serious. Or maybe, this actually is a big deal. Like, I need to look out for this.
Yeah.
So it could help protect you too against the wrong type of mindset and the wrong type of man. So, everybody will benefit from it, man. It really is for all audiences. You know how they have in the movies, the E for everyone is E for everyone. I think even if you've been married 40 years and you like, damn, things getting a little cold, man. Like, I don't know how to get a spark back. Or if you're just getting a divorce and you try and get back out there and 2026 is crazy. Like, it wasn't where it was in the 90s. Like, you know what I mean? It's for everybody, man. For real. For real.
All right, man.
Amazon, The Attraction Blueprint, Tony Bongiovi LaBeet. Look for me. Make sure you buy a copy, buy a Kindle and a paperback, leave a review, share it with a friend. It's a great Christmas gift. I know Christmas is gone, but what you call it, Three Kings. A great Three Kings gift. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I honestly, like, I actually got to review the book. Tony has also been somebody that I've worked with Daylight Daren, and he gave me some really good tips. So definitely go check the book out. Thank you guys for being on.
Thank you.
Dialogue 340. We are out.
Let's go.